Hey, welcome back to another Just 5 Mins. We'll see if we can keep to 5 minutes this time. Impossible, I know. Okay, what have we got? We have got Polybase in Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, what is it? Well, it's been around since apparently I think SQL 2016, and it's there where if you use something like SQL Management Studio, you'll see sort of down, when you look past the database and things, you've got Polybase tables. So if you look at your normal tables, programmability and all that sort of stuff, you've got a few options that maybe if you're not a data scientist or anything like that, you might not have actually used. One, for instance, is maybe a separate episode, is using the memory optimized tables in SQL, and I don't know when that came out. I've got a feeling, again, it was certainly 2019 in SQL that I was using, possibly a version back from that, which in itself is worth looking at to get some real sort of performance gains. But anyway, we're back to Polybase. So again, Polybase has been around since 2016. I did look at it at the time, wondered what it was and all the rest of it. But from 2019 SQL Server, and certainly now in 2020, there's a lot of stuff. Now again, it's the proposition is essentially you can query data with T-SQL directly from SQL Server. You can query other external databases, Oracle, Teradata, MongoDB, Hadoop clusters, Cosmos DB, S3 compatible object storage, Azure storage, and generic ODBC connections. Now, the main thing is, okay, well, is that interesting? Well, no, if you're not connecting to those systems. But the main thing is, this Polybase, the process minimizes the need for ETL, extract, transform, load processes. So in the past, if you've got all this external data, you might need to pull it into I don't know, they call it data lakes these days. Back in the day it was called something different. But you'd have to use an extract, transform, load sort of process. DTS, if anyone remembers that, or SSIS, integration services, all those things to pull data in. These days you've also got Azure Synapse and all the whole Azure Fabric. But anyway, the point being is if you just want to get access from your normal T-SQL to those other external sources, Polybase might be able to help you. Okay, so you don't need the ETL. Okay, I'm not saying this is always going to be the case, by the way. You may need an ETL at some stage for sure. But if you've got data in some of those other sources, and the main thing is you've got a generic ODBC connection as well. But one thing, or a couple of things that jump out, there's a lot of stuff. I'll put the links below. But there are things like I mentioned, generic ODBC, to be able to go to other ODBC sources. And bearing in mind, this is to give you, it's sort of, it's data, they use the phrase data virtualization with Polybase. Okay, but the point being is, these external sources then just look like normal object tables, whatever, in your SQL. Okay, so it's really worth having a look at, I think. And as I say, there's a couple of things that jump out for me in my sort of day-to-day job, is that you can query CSV or tab separated files in Azure blobs or S3 buckets or wherever that data may be. Again, it's got connections for MongoDB, Teradata, all sorts of big data platforms. But the interesting thing also, as I mentioned, is the generic ODBC. And I happened to pull out an example which, for me, it's just one use case. And if you're not using SAP, you might as well switch off right here. But SAP HANA. Okay, HANA is SAP's in-memory database, runs on Linux and all the rest of it. It's always been one of those things you want to use data from HANA with your SQL data. you've got a few options, but one of them could be the fact that you've got SAP HANA produce a HD ODBC driver, like an official SAP HANA driver. Okay, you can use it with Polybase to connect it up and actually then query the HANA data as if you're coming from SQL without all of that linked servers and all that sort of stuff. I suppose in a way Polybase is doing something of that nature, but the point being it's hiding a lot of that linked server type stuff that can fall apart when somebody goes and changes the permissions. I guess it can in Polybase as well. But anyway, that's quite an interesting proposition actually, and the fact that you can look at CSVs directly, and bear in mind, yes, there's a million ways to get data, of course, but if you're limited maybe to just using SQL and not a programming language like .NET, Java, whatever it might be, then this could be a bit of an opener. And like I say, it's not new. Polybase has been around since 2016. I think by the sounds of it, 2019 onwards was when it got a lot more features, and certainly in 2022 it has. So gone way over the 5 minutes again. That's what I've got this time. And keep in mind, you can actually run SQL 2022, for instance, the latest version, in a Docker container. It uses a Linux Docker container as well. So it's nice and quick. That's been around for some time now as well. But so if you want to test this out, you can actually spin up a Docker container on your local machine and get to grips with Polybase. So, hey, until next time, I'm going to leave it there. Take care.